Hey guys, so yeah, this chapter kind of broke me. Like of all the chapter, like for the past couple weeks, like My Hero Academia manga's been on some fucking emotional fire lately, but this one, yeah, I had to read this multiple times, frankly, and which probably tortured me something emotional, but yeah. But okay, first off, obviously, we got to talk about Bakugo and his very revealing admission to Izuku, because honestly, if you really look at it, what Bakugo's essentially admitting to Izuku in this moment is that however, is that he hasn't changed this entire time. However much they've grown, despite how much they've reconciled with each other, to varying degrees throughout their history, the one thing that hasn't changed is how Bakugo has only ever viewed Izuku as a benchmark for his own self-interests of becoming stronger. And this isn't me saying that Bakugo hasn't developed, because he has. Like Izuku, he's gone through numerous trials to get where he is today, and it's because of that rivalry to begin with that Izuku and Bakugo are as strong as they are now. But at the same time, neither has Bakugo ever truly gotten to the point of respecting or showing respect to Izuku as an equal either, or at the very least this entire time, or if I'm being kind about it, at the very least this entire time Bakugo has been hiding the respect he has behind a wall of deep-rooted denialism about with but now with that single moment of Bakugo apologizing for everything and saying the single name out loud, Izuku, calling him Izuku, not saying nerd, not saying dweeb, not saying any of that, not saying Deku, not saying any of that shit, just calling him Izuku. This is Bakugo's first true moment of humility. Yet, ironically, by him conceding that Izuku is the stronger hero, it's actually kind of proving the opposite. Because because pretty much by pretty much Bakugo admitting his faults, admitting everything he did was wrong. That is the mark of accepting one's own faults and own problems that they've caused for others. But with Izuku now, he's and Bakugo. Don't get me wrong, Bakugo did take the time in order to actually jab the emotional knife in further and tell Izuku straight up that what he's doing is achieving nothing more than killing himself. But again, at the same time, it's one of those things that just kind of that ironically just kind of goes to show that Bakugo is kind of despite what Bakugo says, Izuku isn't the stronger hero in this case. Izuku right now is in a place where unlike Bakugo, he pretty much won't even recognize or acknowledge his own weakness because for some reason or another he can't. He refuses to acknowledge he needs help, and that in itself kind of makes him the weaker person in this confrontation, unfortunately. So yeah, it's like I love this. I love this admission for so many fucking reasons. So, but Bakugo just he became a man in this moment. I think honestly, a true man. And can we just talk about Class 1A as a collective for a moment? Because they do succeed in essentially dragging Izuku back to UA, only to be met by an angry mob that wants to turn Izuku over to All for One. And Izuku knew that's what would happen. But guess what? So did Class A. They all knew this was going to be the reaction the moment Izuku showed himself before them. Hell, I'm sure to certain degrees, one way or another, Class A themselves have dealt with this themselves, just by being associated with Izuku, and they knew, like many times before, Izuku would turn his heel and go out on his own when faced with that. What was important for Izuku to know, however, is that despite that, he needed to see. Like, it's one thing to talk about this, but what Izuku needed more than anything else is he needed to see that they were still there for him, that they were going to still stick with him until the end, even when being ostracized. And I not only like how Ochiko was kind of used as a focal point to drive this home at the end of the chapter, but I also like how the chapter made sure to kind of take special mention of how, despite what the angry mob says, the current security and evacuation measures were in some ways really only made possible because of Izuku's efforts of going solo, showing that even when not directly responsible, he's still influencing the actions of others. Which kind of like what Hiroshima talked about with how Izuku saving Bakugo motivated him, even if he didn't know that Izuku was the one who did it at the time. But really, at the core of it, I just love Class A's ride or die mentality in this chapter. They are determined to help Izuku even when he tries to go out on his own again. They will even when he tries to go out on his own, go it alone. They will be right behind him, or I guess as Steve would say it in Captain America: Winter Soldier, they're with him to the end of the line. Like, that is their mantra. That is Class 1A's mantra at this point. They are going to they're riding out this entire situation with Izuku now. There is, to them, that is the only route they can see in which they will be able to experience true happiness again. The only way they can stop all this madness and just live in a world where they can all be together again. And I kind of love that camaraderie. Right? Sorry, I'm really loving that camaraderie right now. I really fucking am. I'm jiving with it heavy as hell. And yeah, in terms of and yeah, I touched on it a little bit in the Bakugo part, but yeah, in terms of Izuku's thought process on all this, he's just dead inside. Like, he doesn't even know what to do anymore. Like, frankly, like, you can tell it really is a case where his mind is saying one thing, but his body and his quirk are telling him something completely different. And despite his friends being committed to the cause, even now, like, Izuku is still fighting for an answer he doesn't have. Of he doesn't even know what the correct path is anymore. But he doesn't even know, like, not even what the correct path is anymore, but what is even the right path anymore. And he wants an answer he doesn't have. He just doesn't, and shows that contrary to what he tricked himself into believing at the very beginning of this arc when we first saw him by himself, he's genuinely lost, completely directionless, without even an idea of the path he's been taking, and just holding on to a new singular thread each and every time, hoping it would yield the results he wanted in order to just end all this. But now that he's being forced to come back, he's, in small ways, in small little instances, he's starting to realize just how powerless he was, even if he still doesn't want to admit it. Also, kind of a side note, but we get to see 13 again, which it feels like forever since we saw her, and it's even weird to see that she looks what she looks like with that helmet on. Like, don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong, 13 looks kind of attractive, I'm not gonna lie to you, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you don't know what you're expecting, and somehow actually seeing it for the first time, seeing what 13 looks like behind the helmet, it's a little, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to call it underwhelming, but it just kind of exists. Now with that, one final thing I want to touch on, which is we see President Mike in the chapter, like, pretty much going and trying to like just get the protesters away from him, and just get the angry mob away from Izuku. And just from seeing Mike again, this does kind of bring up something I really want to see addressed right now, which is I want to know like the pretty much progress they've made in terms of like saving Obito or something like that. Like the whole thing with Obito right now is the one thing I really want. The whole thing of what's going on with Obito right now is one of the things I still want to see addressed, and hopefully like hopefully Horikoshi does have like a plan for that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell and just share this video around, guys. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.